continue to be significantly impressed as time goes on with Beverly's talent to really relate to people, and through that relationship, really start to build and help people become more of what they maybe couldn't have been without Beverly's assistance and support. So, with that said, I want to welcome everybody to the show. Chat's wide open. The word of the day is success. And I'm sure everybody has a definition or opinion of it. So, love to hear it. Want to continue to build and create some great takeaways. And with that said, I'll turn it over to Bev, and she can share a little bit more about herself and first thoughts on success.
Okay, well, so much to say on success. First of all, thank you, Dawn. Tuesdays are always fun. It doesn't matter if I'm on alone, if we have guests, it all provides value, and our value should be to the audience. And that's why we encourage audience participation. And if you don't like commenting in the chat, and a lot of people do not, please reach out to us, and you can ask your questions and we'll always respond. So you can find me on my profile. That's Beverly Glazer. And of course, you can find Dawn Cohen. And Dawn is on every single day except Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And but he used to be on absolutely every single day. And it's always at 11 Eastern. And so you can always find us here. No, not me. I'm here Tuesdays, but Dawn, you can always find here. And there's always wonderful guests. So I'm glad that you're here. If you're listening, please join us. We're talking about success. And for those who don't know me, my name is Beverly Glazer, and I help high-performing women to find the success that they know that they do deserve. And now, when I'm saying it, I am saying these people are already successful. We would look at all these people and they'd say, well, what do you need help with that for? Right? You're already successful. Where on paper, you can be an extremely successful person, but success is relative. And we always want more, don't we? If we've achieved this level, what's the next level? And so, particularly, I'm going to take a look at this for women because, first of all, this is a women's empowerment hour. But secondly, women can be distracted by so many different values that we want. So first it could be marriage, relationship, etc., and then it can be children, and then it can be a career. It can be all of those things, and it can be, of course, schooling and a career. And then where do children fit in? And maybe they don't, and that's okay too. But then the way you feel about success is the only thing that matters. And in today's world, we get caught up with what is the value? What is success? Are you successful? And that's the thing. We have to know what our values are and to stop judging other people, but also stop judging ourselves. Because when we judge other people, believe me, you are judging yourself. You're comparing. And what do we mean by success? When you're a child, it's to get all A's. But does that mean that the person that doesn't get the A's is not successful? Maybe in that course, but maybe that course is not the right course for that particular person. And we have to look at people as being unique. And that is something that we don't do, not in our society at all. We put everybody in slots. We put everybody in boxes, who's successful, who is not. We go online. We take a look at all these influencers. We got sales, sales, sales coming out of our ears. And so we always feel that we have to follow in other people's footsteps. And it's a fast track. So I'm encouraging people to call in or write in or just come in and listen to us. And also, please send us, and I've received some people are asking questions. And that is just so important because all your questions are going to be answered. So whether it's on the stream or whether you contact me personally, all your questions will be answered, and the same with Dawn too. So, Dawn, how do you feel about success?
Well, it's easier to feel about success after hearing what you've had to say because it gives me a head start. And there's so many elements that you mentioned that one can choose to talk about. I believe that, again, success is all about context and definition. What a successful person is to themselves may not be judged success to others. And at the same time, someone who doesn't look or appear successful can feel very successful. So it's ultimately the experience of how you deal with success. And success is a fleeting thing. You usually have to work hard and then you achieve it, but then you have to hold on to it and build on it. And there's a lot of people that flew too close to the sun and then ended up burning up and starting over again if they could. And then the other element is balance. There's a lot of people who are hugely successful in certain areas of their life and awful and a total failure in others because they allocated too much time, too much thought, and too much effort to a pursuit, and at the same time neglected a lot of responsibilities and relationships around them. And there's a saying, it's lonely at the top. And the last thing you're going to do is achieve the summit and be there by yourself with no one to celebrate or no one to be appreciative of. So it's better to move together with people who will continue to support you, because not everybody has the ability, and it's a lot more difficult to achieve success when it's only you. When you can kind of share, you can balance. There's times maybe you're not 100% or you're kind of weak in certain areas and someone can fill in. And the other level that's important is confidence. You can be successful and still be insecure. And that's why people never really achieve full success, because there's something missing when they get there. Too many people follow that shining object, think when they catch up to it, it'll shine for them. And all of a sudden, another shining object appears, or it's not as shiny as they thought it was when they finally get to it. And it's a continuum. You're never always a failure and you're never always a success. And I would suggest people lower the bar to reach success. I was just hearing a saying the other day, and it's probably an old saying. It says, inch by inch, it's a cinch. Yard by yard, it's hard.
I like it.
Right. And if you do the little things right and find pleasure in them. I mean, if you start a new program, I started doing some resistance and weight training. And in the beginning, I couldn't believe how little I could hold up. But it was where I had to begin. And over time, you get stronger, and then you can lift a little more weight. But the other element that most people don't consider is having fun, enjoying themselves along the way. So many people, they set a target, and until then, it's struggle, it's sacrifice, it's all this stuff. And for a day or a moment, they get a trophy or a raise, and all of a sudden, they're back on the treadmill again. And success to me is being healthy, being happy, being free, having a wonderful group of family and friends around you, because those things stick and they're important. Let me mention a couple people here. We've got Carrie. What do you call cheese that happened in the past occurred? And here we go with Leslie. Leslie's
Hey, Leslie.
a welcome addition to the show, almost like being on the show. Try a Campbell soup can in each hand. Yeah, maybe that's where I'm at. I'm a little bit over that. But, you never know. The credit goes to the people who take the initiative, the people who start, the people who are proactive. And some people success in certain areas comes easy. They just have natural talents towards it. If you wanted me to draw something, it doesn't matter how much practice, I think innately I'm not going to do a very good job. And that alone will allow me not to do a very good job. When you go into something thinking it's not going to work, I'm not very good at it, you'll prove yourself right all the time. And,
Mhm.
to me, everybody's everybody, and it's important to honor everybody. And, real successful people don't put other people down. They don't measure themselves against the people who didn't make it. But here we go. It's the roller coaster. Hi,
Yeah.
Beverly. I like that nickname. I like that outfit. Looks like, I won't say because I'll probably make a mistake. Uh, with my fingers without brain engaged. I kind of like
Exactly.
the Beverly. So it worked both ways. So you were
Yeah.
successful twice, Leslie. So what's
Yeah.
your new thoughts after?
I'd like to comment on two things Leslie said. The first thing, of course, is the Campbell soup cans. I mean, that, by the way, that's the first time I heard that. And that was during COVID, and all yoga classes and everything were going online, and people didn't have props and all that stuff. And so, yes, we can start small on everything. Okay, you can go from Campbell's soup cans to flour bags if you want, but but the bottom line is that you start. And I'm once again also going to hand it to you, Leslie, because live streaming is a way of reaching people. And there's nothing better than that, because that's how we see each other raw. And although I say no judgment, everybody makes judgments. Come on. We know if we like something, we know if we don't like something, etc. It's in a heartbeat. You see it. And Leslie has one live show, and she does a book, and she's putting it all out, and it's all through live streaming. So I really have to hand it to Leslie. I really do, because it does take confidence. It also takes time. It takes organization. It takes commitment. And let me tell you, I know exactly how that feels. There also is failure that goes along with it. And then it's about resilience and getting yourself up there and going back again. So, Leslie, hey, that's awesome. And I just want to, mention that. And I also want, when we talk about people here on the show, look back and think of how you can always identify with yourself. You know, we learn from watching, we learn from seeing what other people do. We learn, and we don't have to fear what we learn. We can fall on our face. That's learning. That's that 2-year-old child that gets up there and starts walking, and then boom, falling on their face. Well, how do they learn? Are they never going to walk again? They'll walk. And that's the same with all of us. We can't look at ourselves as, I'm not good enough, I'm going to fail. You have to get up and you have to keep on trying. And it doesn't matter. Sometimes it hurts. Sometimes it hurts. Like Dawn, you were saying that failure can really be a disaster. But is that disaster going to put you in such a severe depression you can't get out of it, and you ruin your marriage and everything else that goes along with it? It's all relative. And you are, by the way, rewiring your brain through resilience if you keep on creating new pathways in a positive space, in a positive light. So understand that failure does not have to be 100%. You can have a 50% failure. You can have a 10% failure. It doesn't really matter. You don't have to quantify it. But what you do have to do is say, okay, what did I learn from that? What does this teach me? And it's from what it taught you, not what happened. What did it teach you? Don't look at the world coming at you as the bad guy, okay? It happens. And as they say, life is out to get you as soon as you're born, right? That's it. So, what you have to do is be resilient enough to bounce back, resilient enough to know your value, and you say, okay, I always go back to the I, not them. What did I do wrong? Did I see it coming? And very often, if in retrospect, you do see it coming. But what you do is you try not to actually see it coming. You're avoiding, you're doing something else, you're trying to save it rather than slowing down. When you slow down, and this is what we're talking about success, when you're slowing down, you can see that train coming. And then you can say, hey, maybe I should veer out of the way. Maybe there's something I can do about this. Maybe I don't have to stand there and wait for it to crash into my face. It's only by slowing down and listening to your inner voice. And yes, I sound like a guru and a Buddha, and I'm not, but there's research science behind it, that you're actually changing your brain patterns. And when you do that, and that it's only through slowing down, my friends, only through slowing down, not by reacting. Okay. When we react, we're not thinking. We're just going at what we think we need to do, but we're not really thinking. When you're slowing down, you're actually feeling. And when you are feeling it, you can know, literal inner knowing, exactly what to do. But you have to slow down enough to hear it. And it sounds spacey. I know it does, but it's actually the truth. Everything we have, I'm saying it again, you've heard it before in many different cliches, everything we have inside of us. Okay? It's there. But you have to be able to have the confidence and the inner knowing that you can reach that and come to that place. And when you do, it really is a eureka. Okay. And then you follow through. You may have to get advice. And if you're not slowing down, you're not even going to think of what advice to get. All you're going to do is try to fix it or scream or yell or react or go to maybe a bank to get more money and scream because I can't get this. But what can you do? And I'm going back to Leslie here because Leslie was on my podcast, which is Aging with Purpose and Passion. And it's all about women who've been on that journey. And that journey has taken them to where they are today. And Leslie's story is a reminder of that. When she slowed down, she found someone that could help her. And here she is on so many different levels. And that's the point where usually it's when we hit a wall, but sometimes we've hit a wall and splattered. Okay? No, you don't have to do that. You can slow down and think and stop and pause, literally pause. And it's not about going to the doctor and taking a pill. It's all up here. It starts with the breath. I'm not going to go into that, but the bottom line really is that success and holding on really does not matter. Sometimes, and as you know, Dawn, after you've maybe built that empire or, like you said, touched the sun, and then you've fallen down to earth with quite a crash, that second rise is better and stronger and bigger and different than the last one, because you have learned you are not going to do that again. So first of all, yeah, thanks, Leslie. I just, thought of that only because of your story. And it's wonderful. And if anyone, happens to want to hear Leslie's story, it's Aging with Purpose and Passion on Apple, just about everywhere. All you have to do is Google that and it's all out there. So yeah, absolutely. You have to have that resilience and inner knowing that I can get out of it. I don't have to crash and burn. What can I do? There are people, there are companies, there's organizations, there's all kinds of things that can help you if you're not on autopilot and if you're not that crazy reptile brain, but you're actually using your cortex. Okay, so
Yeah,
No.
those are great points. I learned so much every time I have Beverly on, and Leslie's always a catalyst for new thought and ideas that maybe we wouldn't have, been able to achieve on our own. I think that's another level of success is not how well you do, but how many people you help get better, become more successful. And all of a sudden their success is related to your success. Also, I agree with Beverly is, the game is between you and yourself, but you don't have to compete with yourself. I know there's a lot of guys who would feel bad about starting out with the low level of weights, but I knew it was a good place to start because I'd be comfortable there. Too many people overwhelm themselves because, well, I'm stronger than that, I'm better than that. Let me go for the big question before they've even answered any of the small questions. And just like shoes, you want to try them on and see how comfortable they are before you buy them. You might walk around in them for a little bit, but at a certain point, what complements and adds to what you already have? And there's a lot of pursuits that distract and compete with what you had, like we talked about relationships or hobbies or whatever you do. And the other key thing about success is really not getting too enamored by it because it can be fleeting. And if you require success to be happy, you're going to be unhappy in the intervals.
Don?
I've always learned
Oh,
more on
no,
the
all of
yes.
a sudden
I see a
you
little
wiped out.
and then it disappears. It's, I think Restream just puts that in to keep everybody edgy
I
and
think
not,
so.
but I've learned a lot from success. I've learned more from failure, and that allowed me to be more successful because the hardest success, and you see that, especially in influencers today, 23, 25, 27, and they're committing suicide right and left. Why? They've never known success, and all of a sudden they get this huge success, and they're not equipped to deal with it, and it gets too much. And at a certain point, you got to say goodbye to today and look forward to tomorrow, where people are working 16 hours, 18 hours. They're killing themselves. What's the point of building success that you won't enjoy, that you won't be able to share with others? And where's the rush, right? If it's good, have a good run with it. Once you catch a wave, ride it. Leslie has a book, and she says,
Yeah.
I'm in the relaunch of Errata now, and the audio book is planned for before Christmas. Book 2 is already in chapter 3. Well, congratulations, because
Yeah.
I've learned so much from her, had about 50 shows together. And also, she's a constant evolver, learner, and that just tells you that you can't judge success by the cover of the book, right? It's really what's inside, and it's also what's inside of people. And, what success means to some does not mean to others. A lot of times, the most successful and respected people are the ones who give modestly, have humility. They're not the big shots. They don't care about the big houses and the cars, even though they can afford them possibly. But what got them there sometimes is a thing that supports them going further. I've seen Warren Buffett lives in the same house he was living in 50 years ago. And he could buy a city if he wanted to, I'm sure. But if it works, don't try to fix it. And the other thing is take time, like Beverly says, to reflect. A car has a neutral and a reverse gear for a reason. Sometimes you just gotta pause. Sometimes you gotta back out of certain things, and you gotta make judgments as you go. And some things change on you, or you discover when you're halfway into it, this isn't what I wanted, or even better, you're on a road and you see a better road and you pivot, but you would have never got there if you didn't take the first road before the pivot. So there is
Yeah. I don't know if Don's restream just immediately. Oh, I think he's coming back
yeah,
now.
I'm back.
Don,
I need to make an adjustment if that happens again. But Beverly, it's
Yeah.
your turn.
Yeah, lots. Well, Leslie came back with another good point here. And what happens is the connection also with habits. If we keep on doing something positive, it does become a habit. You are wiring your brain. There's neuroplasticity in there. So if you don't like something, don't focus on what you don't like. Find the good somewhere of what you found useful. When you're starting to rewire into the positive, you are creating more positive because we are hardwired, folks, to negative. We are. And although you could say think positive, think positive, think positive, our reptile brains from birth, from thousands of years back, say no, think negative, because what if this bear is going to attack us in the middle of the woods and we better run? So we better have our spidey sense up, right? Well, the bottom line really is you have to be the one to turn that around and find something good, because you're not going to see the good in it automatically. Okay. And research has actually shown that you will be hardwired, okay, to three things. If you see them negative in a day, you find those three things. And if you had 8 positive things, you're going to focus on those 3 bad things. You're not going to focus on the good things. Okay. So the reason we focus on the good things is for that neuroplasticity, is so that you can actually say, hey, it wasn't all that bad. And that's the kind of thing we always have to keep talking to ourselves. And that's why we should celebrate those little wins. And how many times do we say, and I say it also, it's nothing. That was nothing. But, oh, this did not work out. And then we focus on getting that workout. And then before you know it, oh, what a bad day it was. So start looking at the little successes that you have. Don't look at all the failures, the bad stuff. How many times do I speak to people and I say, hey, how are you? Right? And they'll say, oh, Bev, you just do not know. I'm so glad I'm talking to you now. Well, I'm glad they're talking to me too, because once we kind of look at the whole thing, it's never, ever as bad as we ourselves actually see our world. The way we see it is it's crumbling before our eyes. And we have to get on track. We have to get that sale. If we don't get that sale, my whole company is going to blow up. If I don't get this, I better, because it's been a really bad month and I have people to support. Well, the bottom line is that may be totally true. However, it's the way you're doing it, the attitude. When you go from really crisis, I must, you're going to be sending out those vibes. And nobody likes to deal with somebody who also is under pressure, right? They do not. They want to, everybody has their own pressure and nobody's interested in yours. So when you're thinking with this tremendous anxiety, and I'm thinking of clients in particular as I'm talking to you now, I'm saying, no, you have to stop it, because what you end up doing is you are sabotaging your own success. You're sabotaging your success because you're thinking negatively, rather than helping that client to make a decision which is probably best and in their favor. You're not even looking at that. You're just looking at the bottom line, your bottom line, and how you could make it to the end of the month. So this is where we have to relax. This is where we have to recoup. This is where meditation is a really, really, really good practice, and mindfulness as well. This is where yoga, you have to do self-care, and that's so important. And the higher you are, the more pressure you have in life. And that has to do with illness as well, because then your body and mind is under pressure. This is where you can get relief, and the relief is within. It's the balance. The balance is everything, and we are off balance. So start so simply. What did you have for breakfast? Was it healthy? What are you putting in your body? Have you slept? That means taking care of your mind. What was going on? How can you be successful? How can you put in your 100% when you are so stressed out because the night before you didn't sleep because you're worried about what was going on for tomorrow and the next day and the end of the month? Take it one day at a time, as they say in AA. Slow down, as you said, Dawn. Enjoy the journey. What's it all about anyway? Are you successful? Even if you are on top of that company, if you're under so much stress and that you have problems with your heart and you're way overweight and you are flying all over the place and you don't have the opportunity to see your kids or your family, where is the success here? Ah, on paper, it looks good. But my clients know that. And my clients understand that. What do I do? Okay. No matter how big you are, you should. Now, not using the word should, sorry. You you know what you have to do. You have to just reach out and say, how do I stop this machine? The machine is running and I am not enjoying it. And what do I do? I can't get off. If I get off, I'm going to lose everything I built. And guess what? My response to each and every one of my clients is you do not have to get off. You just have to do it differently. And when you do it differently, everything changes. It is unbelievable. Relationships change. The staff that you're employing, the people that are around you are more receptive to you. You start really building teams. You start really growing, and you end up not only feeling good, but enjoying the journey and helping other people as well go through theirs too. Because when you're in business or whatever you do in a family, wherever, when one person is having a problem, everybody is suffering. When one person doesn't feel well, I'm not talking about COVID where we really catch on all our germs and all our, insecurities and frailties. No, what I'm talking about is we all don't function independently. So we have to start thinking that we can do it all. In our society, we've been trained to think like that. I can handle it. I don't worry about it. I am alone. In other cultures, it's not that way. It's we are in it together, yin and yang, body, mind, everything together. Well, it's time to go with Eastern philosophy and Western philosophy and make it right for you. And when you look at your values, and believe me, I feel that's the only way to do it, you will find success. Success is what you make it, not what other people tell you it should be. And there's that should word. I noticed that Leslie mentioned that. No shoulds, you know, no shoulds. Or as Dr. Albert Ellis, who happened to have been my teacher way, way, way back in the day. And if anybody's taken Psychology 101, they'll find his name. Yeah, he said, don't should on yourself. And that's the way to look at it. Okay. No shoulds. That's a pressure from the outside. It's what do I feel? What's right for me? Okay. And whatever is right for you, by the way, is right. That's it. That's all. And then you have to make it work. So that's what success is really all about. It's about, are you happy? Because what is that all about? And we can go into what happiness is also, but it's enjoying the journey, not only what you've achieved. It's not only about the accolades. It's not only what people say about you, because on paper it looks good, but how do you really feel? So, Dawn, I'm seeing all kinds of
Yeah,
comments.
yeah,
So,
let me catch up here. I just a Campbell's soup to getting the big size. I was thinking Progresso cans actually at the point, but uh, here's where we go. Um, okay, conscious mind in lieu of subconscious mind. We have perfect faith in our fears. That's so true.
yeah. Mhm.
Here is another one. Always look for greatness in others. One of my mantras, and that's a good
Yeah.
point, Leslie, because without support, you're dealing in a vacuum, right? It's like
Yeah.
tunnel vision. And how much does a word of encouragement allow you to stay in the game, right? You can't fight two battles at the same time. There's people are fighting at home and fighting at work, and there's too much fight, not enough
Mhm.
relief. So both can support each other. And the knowledge that you can change if you apply yourself properly. I just went on this I've always been real healthy, but I went on a further health kick and made some more adjustments, always adjusting,
Mhm.
and got down to the weight I was when I was 25 now, which is not easy. And everything is improved. And there's hope. There's always hope if you allow hope to find a spot in your regime. And there's opportunities that you don't have to do as much as you do. Too many people are not only overachievers, they're overworkers.
Mhm.
And some don't achieve anything because they got to that point and they kept going and then lost everything.
Mhm.
There's a time just like in gambling that you got to know when to hold them and when to fold them. That's an old song, but it's true.
Good one.
Quit while you're ahead and enjoy the victory and come back and play again tomorrow.
Mhm.
It's always going to be there. And if it isn't, it wasn't worth staying around for anyways. Here's another one that says we can practice looking at the upside until it becomes a new habit, outweighing
Mhm.
the negative automatic view. And that's so important because what you project is what you attract, and happy people really attract other happy people to them. And you have an ability to turn people off and turn people away. And you have an opportunity to be attractive to people because of what you bring. Christine's here. Always glad to see Christine. Eve
Awesome.
does it. Christine then goes on. I needed to hear this message today. And
Great.
that's what makes what me and Beverly are doing worthwhile because it makes a difference for us, but more importantly, it makes a difference for others. And at this moment, we're all live. We're participating in the same community, trying to
Mhm.
help each other. And it just empowers more people to catch a ride.
Yeah.
You don't have to reinvent everything yourself. You don't have to be the author of everything. You can learn from other people's talents and skills, and that's even more fun. There used to be a saying, if you want to know who somebody is, ask them what they're reading. And that'll tell you a lot about the person. If they're reading comic books, nothing wrong with that, but that tells you where their mind is and what excites them. And if you're really reading masterpieces and quality literature, that tells you something also. Leslie says yes to no to should and no to sorry. And that's another thing. People are apologizing for things that they shouldn't have to be responsible for. What's happened is done. The saying, it's not how many times you fall down, it's how fast you spring back up, is important. And failure, I always say failure is feedback, and every lesson that you learn from not achieving what you wanted is an opportunity to build on achieving. Dennis
Mhm.
is here. Thank you, Dennis. Agree, press her and press him makes it important to yoga and settle down comfortably and be well trained. That's a mouthful. Uh, we've got Leslie. Should is about their standards, values, and ideas, not yours. And it also involves an element of judgment.
Mhm.
right? When you start telling people what they should do, first of all, you're telling them what they're doing is wrong. Now you're telling them what they should do. And the challenge to that is you're not going to be there the next day when they need to know what they should do, right? They should figure that out for themselves, and giving people little tips without being too offensive. Too many people are like a blast furnace. They open their mouth and they blow you away. And sometimes you didn't need to do that. You just needed to have a good touch or feel for where they're at, and empathy goes a tremendous long way. I know how you feel. I felt the same way, and then this happened, and everything changed for the better. So, Leslie says, know when to walk away, know when
Yeah.
to run. Yeah, and it's something inside of you, and it's usually your heart that tells you something isn't right. Your brain can really confuse you if you let it. It, it'll
Oh.
it'll build you up or knock you down, and if you're too sensitive to it, you're going to get impacted by it. And I think that's important. Here's another one. Why should we give up our values for someone else's? You shouldn't, and someone else shouldn't expect you to, because that's a signal that, hey, this person isn't really into my benefit. It's really taking advantage of me. And it's also how you respond to criticism or judgment. If you're really affected, you can expect to get more of it because someone found a key to open you up to them. And if you just sometimes a question is better answered with another question. Like, why
Mhm.
did you say that? I heard what you said. What did you mean by that? And you put somebody not on the defensive, but making them accountable, and then you can address it. Or maybe you choose not to. Sometimes you're better off giving up on an argument before it even starts if you know where it's going to lead to.
Mhm.
You can just say, yeah, it's an interesting thing you just said. You don't have to say that's right. You don't have to say I agree with it, but it is interesting or it is curious, and you move on, because at a certain point it's time invested and return on that time. And if you're wasting time in areas and with people that are going nowhere, that's exactly where you're going to end up with them, and you're going to have to carry a burden with you, and you're free. And the beautiful thing about tomorrow, everybody starts fresh tomorrow. Whatever you do today doesn't carry forward, and that's good and bad. So, Beverly, how did you learn so much about so much, especially when it comes to helping people?
Because I've been doing this for a long, long time. That's how I learned so much about so much. And I think, not think, I know. I I'm curious and I'm a lifelong learner. And so what I always do, is I want to know more. I want to know why. I want to understand. And I'm going to pivot right in to be able to get you to understand also where your values really are, so that you can take a look at when to step back and when you can not step back, because as Leslie has mentioned, it's all about your values. And with our life moving so quickly and everybody saying, you should do this or try this or this, we can lose our values and we could lose the reason we're doing whatever we're doing in the first place. And so, what I want you to think of is make a circle on a page, and then put a dot in the middle of that circle. That dot is you. Then make another ring, smaller, and a smaller ring, and a smaller ring, and a smaller ring, until you get down to your dot, the small ring around it. Now, within that dot, like within those little circles, as you go circle within circle, is you start putting what really matters to you. And it doesn't really matter. Some people are in the farther circle with people, some people are closer, some people are very close in that dot. And just because you're married or in a relationship doesn't necessarily mean that you have to put them close in your dot. Okay. It's how you emotionally feel with these people. And then what I want you to do is make a value chart. Put also in the same circle where money matters to you, where freedom matters to you, where whatever values, money, freedom, accolades, achievements, everything that matters to you. Okay. It can be your sports, your hobbies. Find layers in within the circle. And then really evaluate what you just did. Okay. But of course, you have to take time out for your busy day. Trust me, this is maybe 10 minutes. Not that much, but 10 minutes in a busy day, you know who has time for that, right? Well, take that time because it's your time. And what you're doing is you do these things for everybody else. You have to also take a little bit of time for yourself. So when you take that time, take a look and see where your values are. It may be that freedom really matters and it's really close to you in that circle. Okay. It may be that success and money is really close to you in that circle. And then take a look and evaluate how those people in that close circle, do they match with what your values are, with where you want to go in your life? It doesn't mean you have to do anything, but all you have to do is take a look. Who matters and what matters? And when you put it together, that's how you can value the success that you want for yourself. This is a self thing. You can call it a selfish thing, but hey, it's all about you, right? Yes, it is. It's your journey. So, Dawn, I just had to respond to that and just perhaps help everybody else find what your value is, because it's so true. We shouldn't march, as Leslie said, to other people's values. But often we don't even know what our value really is. So this is one way of finding it.
Well, and I think that's what's so important, especially to organize your day where not all your eggs are in one basket, right? If it's only one activity, it's going to be yes or no, or plus or minus. But if you say, well, 8 o'clock, I'm going to have a lovely breakfast. 7 o'clock, I'm going to have a nice exercise routine. And then you do something, let's say, in the work area. And if that's good or bad, it's balanced by what came before it and what's coming after it. Because if you have something to look forward to that's exciting, it'll carry you forward. If next Thursday is going to be a big day, maybe it's a party, maybe it's a celebration, maybe it's a big speech you've been aiming and thinking about doing, well, that'll overcome the little things that happen every day, because something really important and exciting is coming up. And you need to create those opportunities. You can't wait for them. They take too long to show up, and sometimes they don't. And nobody knows what you want until you ask them. Everybody would rather say, well, here's ice cream, and doesn't matter what the flavor is. That's the scoop you're getting. But it's a lot easier to say, we've got chocolate, vanilla, strawberry. Which would you prefer? And give people opportunities. And the other thing is, don't get down on yourself. Embarrassment, disappointment, frustration is normal, but it's not something that has to be continued. You paid a price once. Maybe you learned something. Maybe you need to learn it again. But take it as an opportunity instead of a way to back up, because that's what you have to guard against, is to end up in the shadows, afraid to go forward. And I think by having support, by having family, friends, and relationship can go a much further way. Let me see. Leslie says, sounds like Covey's circle of influence and circle of concern. And then also comes back with what others are doing are things we cannot control, which is so true. And that's where, you just have to give yourself some room, give them some grace, and, treat people the way you want to be treated, or more importantly, treat people the way they want to be treated. And you'll find out that life will get a lot easier. Too many people want to win whatever they do, right? Everything is a contest. What everybody says, well, I can do better. Or, someone tells a great story. I'll tell you my story. It's like, no, you should stay with their story and find reasons to appreciate it and to appreciate them, because that will encourage them to do more, to do better. And you never know what a smile, a kind word will get you. So, Beverly.
Okay, well, you said a lot there. Wow. Okay. Where do I go? Where do I take it? I'm going to take it. I'm going back to Leslie here and mixing it in with what you said, Dawn, because it all works. When we're talking about things you cannot control, and Leslie has that, what others, are doing, we cannot control. Like whatever people are doing, we have to stop that judgment. And we were talking about that in the beginning. We judge ourselves, we judge others, and we feel that we should be like whatever the status quo is. And we have pressures also on the outside to do that too. But what we were talking about is reading how we feel also on the inside. And I'm just thinking of a newsletter that I just dropped. Actually, it was this morning. And it's thanks to you, Dawn. I have never done LinkedIn newsletters until you said, why don't you do LinkedIn newsletters? And they're great. And so check out my newsletter, guys, because it's because of Dawn I'm doing it. And in the newsletter, I'm talking about a client that I had who's on top of her game, no question, and was never satisfied. And as you know, anything about success, you can go higher and higher and higher, and everybody thinks you're really, really great. And if you're feeling that, that's terrific. But what happens when you reach a certain level of success is often you don't feel fulfilled, because there is kind of more. And what it stems from, it's the inner stuff I'm talking about, is like, why are we doing this? I have the money, I have all the trips and the tools and all these fun toys, but I still don't feel something. She comes from a very, very difficult childhood, and she has overcome that. And by overcoming that childhood, she had to really work very, very hard to achieve where she is today. And where she is on top of her game. And so what happens is, I'm not satisfied being on top of my game. I've made it, I've done that, but I cannot stop the wheel. And that is really hard. What does she do? So what we really had to do was evaluate, because very often the stories we have said to ourselves as children don't work for us as we've gotten older. And this is really for all of us. So the stories she told herself from way back when was, I'm not good enough. I have to prove to all my peers that I am just as good. I am absolutely just as good and even better than they are, because I come from very difficult circumstances. And although they were given everything, I for sure was not. And they don't have to know that. They never have to know that. I'm going to buy, I'm going to do, I'm going to have, I'm going to look just as good, if not better than they are. So what she's doing is overcompensating and can't get back on that wheel. And you've reached success. I want you to take a look at what you also are doing. What changes have you made for yourself? Are you living in the old story? Does the old story work for you anymore? And if the old story doesn't work for you, then you have to rewrite that story and you have to make changes. And that is difficult. And so for sure, welcome back, Dawn.
I didn't want to say goodbye without being here.
I didn't know if I could say goodbye because you have the controls.
I'm so happy we were able to make it to the end.
We sure were. And I was just going to finish the story with telling everybody that you have to take a look really at what success is for you today and what was success for you yesterday, because you may be living by yesterday's rules and today's rules don't work. So you can maybe tell a new story. You can start saying, hey, I've arrived. I can appreciate it. I don't have to be that big guy. I don't have to prove to myself or to everybody else or anybody else. Just like Leslie said, you have to know where you are and where your values are, but your values can change, and it changes over time. But you have to be able to have the insight enough to know, I'm not fulfilled. So there's something going on. What's going on? It's not going on the outside. It's going on the inside. So Don, take it to you.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. And it brings to mind a couple things. For things to change, you have to change.
100%.
Dynamic, it's not going to wait for you. Time doesn't wait for anybody. And it's the little things done right over time that can compound and make you successful. So I think the other thing is Beverly makes a good point. Remember when you started, and where are you now? And what have you learned? And what have you achieved? And sometimes you forget all those little things you did and learned and take them for granted. And, I think that's, every success allows for another success. And it's easier to build on success when you've been successful and you know what it really is, when you found true success, not just some superficial, small thing, that you might have achieved, but you can't replicate. If you can't sustain something, if you can't do it again, then you haven't really gotten there yet. And it's the skill sets, it's the mindset, it's everything that goes along with it to enjoy yourself. And I think at the end of the day, success can only be determined, in my opinion, by happiness, by satisfaction. When you put your head on your pillow at the end of the day, are you proud of what you are doing? Did you add to the value to others? And are you excited about tomorrow? A lot of times you wake up and you feel like $1 million, and the next day you wake up and you feel like you can't get out of bed. Well, how fast did the world change on you, right? Are you okay, Beverly? Illustrating what live streams are all about, between disconnections and internet streams and everything else. So you actually do see the true us dealing with adversity as we go. But I know that we both have hard stops. I want to thank Beverly. If Beverly has any last words that she'd like to share, that would be great.
Absolutely. If I can get out a few last words, that'll be good. Yeah, first of all, if anyone wants to reach me, you can find me on my profile. They're free self-help tips that I give out weekly. Sign up for that. And other than that, stay happy. Choose what you want with your value and make your life work for you. It's not other people's movie.
That is so quality. So with that said, I'll thank the audience, thank Beverly one more time, and look forward to everybody coming back tomorrow. Tomorrow we've got Dave Snell and Jason Gerardo, and then we've got Kelly on Thursday. So again, Beverly, thank you again so much.
Thank you.
Thank
you. And thanks to everybody that was here. Thanks to all your